Probably seen the headlines, big changes coming to real estate. And I think it's meant to scare you or a little bit of clickbait. But the truth is, this is all really good news. And we are here to help walk you through it.
What's going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast for real estate. I'm Sammy and Rebecca.
And I'm Rebecca Pesci.
And we are here to talk about some very serious stuff today. So we decided we're not going to do this one with espresso martinis.
Aww.
We going to be okay?
I don't know. I'm not sure with my hands.
Yeah, this is tough.
Usually have a drink in it.
So you're going to see sober Sammy and sober Rebecca. No alcohol whatsoever. But why are we doing this? Because we're here to educate the masses as always. But today's episode and today's topic is a little bit more serious because there's some changes going on in the real estate industry.
Big changes.
Huge.
You've probably seen the headlines, big changes coming to real estate. And I think it's meant to scare you or a little bit of clickbait. But the truth is, this is all really good news. And we are here to help walk you through it. So never fear. Your trusted real estate brokers are here. Sit back, relax.
It's going to be okay. We promise.
Everyone's going to be okay.
So August 17th is a big day in the real estate industry. Why? Well, it all comes down to things that are brought on down from the Department of Justice. So there are some new regulations in play for brokers and agents and buyers and sellers all across the country.
Big news. DOJ wants you to be afraid of this, but we're really happy about it because what this comes down to is transparency for everybody, which we think is a really good thing for this industry. Transparency, honesty, being upfront. We've always been there, but now everyone else is going to get on board too. So what does that big change mean? Well, first and foremost, if you want to go see a house, buyers, you're going to need a buyer-broker agreement signed with your broker.
Very good. Buyer-broker agreement, hence buyers and brokers. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see any house on your own without having a buyer-broker agreement in place.
Right.
Which means for all of you people out there that just reach out to a friend and say, you know what, can we go check out this house later on after work tonight? Well, they're going to force you to have a conversation about a buyer-broker agreement, and you are going to have to sign a document which kind of ties you in to working with one specific agent.
That's probably not going to happen most of the time. Let's be honest. How many friends you have that just ask you, hey, buddy, can we go see this house?
It happens all,
Sometimes, every once in a while.
Sure.
But I think most of the time, this is going to come into play when you've got a buyer client, right? You just met them, maybe been working with them for a little bit. Now, August 17th, you're going to need a signed buyer-broker agreement in place. And again, this is good news. It means that there's a commitment between the buyer and between you as the broker. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're committing to Sammy Lubeck, you're committing to Rebecca Pesci, but more importantly, it indicates the agreed upon commission between the buyer and the broker. And that is new.
Yeah, I think it's very important that way, naturally, from a broker and agent standpoint, they're knowing how much they're going to be earning and truly earning as far as compensation. And that could be a percentage, could be a retainer fee, could be a flat fee.
Whatever they agree to.
Whatever they agree to. So it's great from a buyer's perspective, I think, because it really does show them who they're going to be relying on to guide them through the process of buying a property, whether it's a single family home, condo, piece of land, whatever it is. They're going to know who they can go to and who's truly going to have their back and guide them and educate them through the entire process from the time that they're seeing homes to the time when they get keys to a new property.
But it's not just the compensation offer in there that's agreed upon. That's important. What it also spells out is the responsibilities that your broker has to you as a buyer. It lays out in simple black and white, here are the fiduciary responsibilities that this broker now has to you as the buyer. So that takes all the guesswork out of it. What do they do for me? Why should I pay them? How can I trust them? Why should I trust them? What are they doing when I'm not talking to them? All of that stuff is laid out for you. So it's a really good thing. It's very, again, transparent. That's the theme of our podcast.
Oh, it's beautiful. What can I say? Okay, so it's really good for buyers naturally because they know who they're going to be working with, who's going to be locked into making sure that they're going to get a certain property. Now, from an agent's perspective, why is this good for agents? Well, there are many buyers out there that are non-committal to a specific agent without a buyer-broker agreement. They may say, oh, can we go see this house? And then after you see that house, they may share, oh, you know what? I've got that family friends. I know somebody that's in the industry, and you know what? I'm going to work with them. So thanks so much for showing us this one house or these 10 homes this weekend, but we're going to go work with somebody else. No, this commits you because this is a written document that all parties are going to be signing that really shows your agent's going to be working with you, but you are committing to working with that broker, agent, what have you, so that you're kind of committing to them and you're going to show that you are going to trust them again to guide you through the process of buying a property.
I think this is really good news, but the thing I really like about this buyer broker agreement is that besides the transparency, there's a commitment here that means that these are serious buyers.
Absolutely.
I'm a serious broker. This is my livelihood, right? I do plenty of volunteer work, as do you. I'm not volunteering.
We love volunteering.
I'm not volunteering my time at my job. I do this to get paid. Now, I love what I do. You love what you do.
We've never shied away from the fact that we like money. You know we love espresso martinis. If you've been watching this podcast, you know that we love it. And you know what? We need money to buy those espresso martinis. So yes, we also love those commission checks. You know we're always transparent with you as well. So we're going to always be honest with you. Yes, we want to get paid. We want to make money too.
No one works for free. This is our job. Right? This is what we do to put food on our table and roof on our head and pay for our espresso martinis. And so we want to work with a buyer who's willing to make the same commitment to us that we're going to be making to them. So it takes a lot of that anxiety out of it as an agent and as a broker. You're wondering if these people are going to be serious. You're wondering, maybe do they know somebody, or how reliable are they? There's this saying in real estate, we all know it, it's called buyers are liars. Sorry, buyers. But now, again,
they lie. People lie.
They do. Well, buyers lie.
Okay.
Again, this is the transparency. Everyone's on the same page here, and everyone signed the document, and we've all talked through everything. But really, what this means for agents too, you're going to have to prove your worth. You're going to have to negotiate for yourself. You're going to have to prove to a buyer that this is what you do, this is how you do it, and this is why you're worth the commission that you are asking. Because there are discount brokers out there. We won't name any names, but there are discount brokers out there, and buyers are free to use them too. But you get what you pay for. So hey, brokers, agents out there, it's time that you sharpen your skills. And remember why it is you do what you do and why you're good at what you do, and be able to articulate to those buyers out there so that there are no issues with signing a buyer broker agreement. There will be no hesitation. They're going to already understand that you're on their side, and here's all the ways that it counts to work with them. And the piece of paper is just solidifying that for everyone involved.
And going along with what Rebecca is saying, so when you go to sell a house, you may be meeting with several agents out there who are providing that value proposition, showing you why they deserve to be your agent. Well, now, right off the bat, agents are going to have to prove to the buyers that they should work with them. They're going to have to show their value right away. And I think that is one of the biggest changes going on in this whole thing, is that agents are going to have to really lock in on their clients and say, you know what, here's why you should work with me. And now we need to get it down on paper.
Most of us brokers have been doing this all along. So this change is not going to really be felt for the bulk of us. if you are professional, if you do this for a living, if you're engaged with your community and with your job, this is nothing new. This is what you've been doing all along. Now we're just sort of giving it a name. And maybe if you are having those conversations a little bit later in the game, you've seen our house or two, maybe now you're pushing that conversation a little earlier.
Yeah, I think we're fast forwarding that conversation and the documentation a lot sooner now because it has to happen right away.
And again, it's a good thing. This is maybe a scary thing for some people, but this is a really good thing. And for you and I,
no, I think there are a lot of agents out there that are worried about, committing and getting things signed and showing that value right off the bat. But again, people like us that know what we're doing, we're your trusted real estate advisors, we know it. We're good. We got you. So if anybody out there, is looking for advice or anything like that, I think it's a perfect time to remind people of how they can get in touch with us. Please feel free to email us at forrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. That's FOR realestatepodcast@gmail.com. So yes, there is another major change coming down the pipe August 17th, and that has to do with the cooperating commission that is offered to agencies representing the buyers. Up until now, agents have been able to see how much a particular property that seller, their agency, has been providing in the form of a cooperating commission. That is pretty much not being allowed to be publicly shared following August 17th. So if somebody goes on, whether it's the multiple listing service or MLS or third-party sites like Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com, it's not going to say there what that cooperating commission is.
Nope, no longer publicly published. And most buyers probably don't realize that ever was published in the first place. This is probably a bigger change to agents or brokers because it used to be that the MLS was an offer of compensation. That's what we were taught. So we were trained that by virtue of having it in the MLS, the seller is offering a compensation. That compensation could be zero.
Could be.
It could be whatever is negotiated between the seller and the seller's listing broker.
So are they really, sellers are still going to be able to offer compensation to a buyer's agent.
The seller is still able, and if they're willing, to offer a cooperative compensation for the buyer's agency. But the sort of deemed unfair thing was that why is it that the seller and the listing agent get to determine how much the buyer's agent is getting paid? Shouldn't that be determined by the buyer's agent since they're the ones who are hiring their own agent to work on their behalf? And furthermore,
go with it. You go, girl.
And then there's more. And the buyer's agency commission is being determined by the seller, but who's paying to purchase the house? The buyer. They're coming up with the cash to pay for the house. They're coming up with the loan or the down payment to pay for that property. Yes, the proceeds, the seller's proceeds, are coming out of that.
Preach.
However, the buyer is the one actually making the commitment to pay for the home. So it should be the buyer who gets to determine how much their broker is getting paid.
And here's the beauty of it. It's all transparent. Again, we're using that magic word.
Transparency.
The buyers are going to negotiate as they always have been able to, but it will be more prominent that they are negotiating with their own agent and broker and agency with how much that agent and broker is going to be paid. And the sellers, likewise, they're going to be taking care and figuring out naturally how much their agency is going to make. And there's going to be transparent communication through the entire process, which really does benefit buyers and sellers and agents throughout this whole thing. And that is truly what the DOJ, in the grand scheme of things, they're really looking for is for it to be a more fluid, transparent process for everyone and to understand things. Now, does this really impact everyone? Yeah, in a sense, but you're really kind of putting further regulations in play, different strategies, different conversations in play at different times. Okay? Here's one thing. There's this topic, an an icky topic called this is like an unethical practice that no agent should use. But in the past, agents have been able to see like, hey, one house is offering a 3% cooperating commission, and one is offering maybe a 1.5% or 2% cooperating commission. Steering involves when one agent tries to steer his clients or her clients towards a certain property based on how much they're going to make in commission. Well, that's going away because it's not going to be publicly shared. It's not going to be allowed to be written or posted on any site out there. But the beauty of it is those buyers and their agencies, they're going to know how much that agent is making and that agency is making. And the sellers obviously are going to dictate how much their seller's agency is going to be making through their transparent negotiations as well.
Again, changes, but all good changes, all in the name of transparency. And I know we keep saying transparency, but this is probably the way it should have been working all along. It is in everyone's best interest. It does put those tough conversations about compensation that nobody likes to have out in front. So everyone's on the same page. There's no more guessing games. There's no more wondering, how does my broker get paid? Who's paying my broker? There's no more of a buyer saying, oh, hire me, buyer's broker saying, hire me because I'm free. The seller pays for me. None of that.
You don't have to pay as the buyer or this buyer's agent.
But what does this mean for agents now if you don't have to pay for it, the seller does? That's not a really great way to prove why someone should use you. But what it does mean now, agents, is that you're going to have to sharpen up your skills on what you mean to a buyer, why somebody should hire you, how you prove what you're worth in the same way that you proved it to a seller. It really just comes down to providing value. Why should somebody work with you? How are you going to get paid? Why should you get paid what you're getting paid? I also think it's really important for buyers brokers to understand how your commission can get paid by the buyer. Maybe the seller's offering the compensation. We don't know. It's not published. You could pick up the phone and call the listing agent and ask if the seller's offering a cooperative compensation. But what if they're not offering as much as you've now just negotiated with your buyer? What if it's less than that? You need to understand the ways in which that commission can be paid. We're not going to get into the details on that because there's just too many variables at this point, and it's pretty deal specific. But you as a buyer's broker need to understand how you can get creative in showing your buyer, hey, listen, this is not just going to be a check to me for X%. We can ask the seller. There are other ways that we can work this out. So sharpen your skills on that too.
Yeah, get ready. I mean, there are a lot of experienced agents that this stuff is going to flow. This is going to be a navigation, especially early on once these changes go into effect on August 17th. At the same time, the people that have been practicing this stuff, getting ready for these changes coming down, they're going to be ready. But the key thing, like Rebecca said, is providing that value proposition and convincing buyers and sellers, giving them a reason to trust you enough to guide you through the buying or selling process. That is critical. So personally, I feel this is going to create a huge gap between the agents that are productive and the agents that are not, because sure, you may all know somebody who's a realtor. You may have that family friends, somebody knows, like we've talked about in previous episodes. But right now, you really got to commit to somebody right away. You're going to go see a house or naturally try to sell a property.
I just think too, for buyers, it's going to make some of that due diligence happen up front. Because we used to want to do the fun part first, which was going to look at houses.
I want to see houses.
Right. We don't want to talk about the lender. We don't want to do any of our due diligence and figure out time. You're going to have to start doing that stuff as buyers a little earlier. We're going to really start putting the right process in place first. You're going to look at houses once you've gotten all your ducks in a row before then. So this shouldn't be like, hey, you know what? You're not going to wake up one morning and be like, I think I'll go see a house today and pick up a phone and call somebody. This is going to take a little bit more time and effort on the side of a buyer, and all for good reason. Again, couple big changes, but but all really good changes for the industry and for us as brokers and for buyers and sellers.
Yeah, I really do feel in the long run, this will help. This will be, add to that, again, transparency for all parties. It will help you as a buyer or seller make a more solid decision when you are ready to trust one of the biggest financial moves in your life to somebody that is an experienced agent that has provided value to you and convinced you to trust them enough to sign a document with them.
Okay. We're not going to bore you with too many other details because those are the really big changes, and apologies for the serious nature.
Yeah, we are so much rather be cheersing and sharing espresso martinis with you. But we promise on our next episode, we will have martinis. We will have more laughter. We will be standing. We won't just be sitting here with our hands crossed. We will be back to entertain you. So if any of you have any questions for us about any of the stuff we've talked about or anything else regarding real estate, please feel free to reach out to us for realestatepodcast@gmail.com. That's FOR realestatepodcast@gmail.com.
See you guys next time.
See ya. Check. Bye-bye. Commissions.
No.
Forever. Filler, teaser, outtakes, whatever.
Got your itches out?
It's really tough doing this without a martini. What can I say?